Oh my, I didn't see you there. I was just doing my morning routine. Click here to see that. Yesterday, I was screaming at my roommate from my bedroom about a movie I wanted to watch, and then when she came home from work, it turns out that conversation never happened. I think I'm going crazy. Hey everyone, welcome to Movie Monday, where I, Zaina, bring you a video about movies every Monday. So please remember to like and subscribe so you can watch my videos every single week. This week is a hot or not video on the movie Palm Springs. Hot pick of the week or not worth your time. Spoilers ahead, so if you'd like to skip them and get right to the verdict, there is a timestamp below. Let's get started. Palm Springs stars Andy Samberg as Niles and Kristen Milioti as Sarah as they attend Sarah's little sister's wedding. The movie starts with Niles, who's clearly having a lot of issues with his life, as well as with his girlfriend, who's also the bride's best friend. It then moves on to Sarah, who's less than thrilled to be a part of her sister's wedding. As the wedding and reception goes on, there's a clear connection between Niles and Sarah, and eventually the two of them run out into the desert, but Niles gets shot with an arrow by a mysterious man. Wild. After being shot in the shoulder with an arrow, Niles runs into a nearby cave with a glowing red light. Niles tells Sarah not to follow him, but obviously Sarah does, and she gets stuck in a time loop. Come on, Sarah, no one ever told you not to run into a glowing cave in the middle of the night. Even I've seen Aladdin. You don't run into a cave in the middle of the desert. But I digress. Now that we know what the movie's about, let's cover the good and the ugly. Palm Springs did a great job of taking a common trope and putting a little modern twist on it. They actually did things that I would expect people nowadays to do in a time loop, such as taking copious amounts of drugs, breaking literally everything that they saw, and busting into a spontaneous choreographed dance in the middle of a bar that they often go to. If I was in an infinite time loop, I would definitely do all those things. Maybe more. Like if you do something the day before, you don't feel it the next day. So like if you eat like, I don't know, 10 pounds of cake one day, you're not gonna see it the next day. You know, actually maybe I would just eat a lot. The next thing that I loved about this movie is that the characters are so fun. Niles is essentially a nihilist, which is definitely where the name comes from, who has decided that nothing means anything in the time loop. While Sarah acts as his opposite, choosing to believe that everything in the time loop still has meaning, until she decides that, yeah, okay, nothing really does have meaning here, and then she backtracks on enjoying how nothing has meaning, and refuses to accept that this is her life now due to some guilt that she feels every morning because of a mistake that she made the night before the time loop started, which she is continuously reminded of every morning when she wakes up. And the thing that I love most about this movie is that someone finally decided to learn quantum physics to escape a time loop. When Sarah can no longer bear the guilt of what happened to her the night before the time loop, she leaves Niles and goes off every day to learn quantum physics and spends, I don't even know how long doing it, but good for her for actually taking on the next logical step and experimenting and trying to get out of there using her smarts. Which honestly, you go girl. Like finally someone is using physics to escape a physics problem. Like why has this never been done before? Over and over I watch movies where they're like, oh, it's a moral problem. Oh, I have to do this, this, and this. Which yes, this movie did do that, but then someone was like, oh, this is science. I should just learn science and do sciencey things to escape a science problem. Like who hasn't had a science problem that's like, Jack and Mary are in a time loop. How do they escape? Guess what? Math, science, knowledge. That's the power of logic. Take note, America. And now we have the bad. As I previously mentioned, Sarah runs away from Niles to go learn quantum physics for part of the movie. This was probably maybe 5 or 10 minutes of the movie, but literally it felt like 100 years. It was definitely years within the movie because no one can learn quantum physics that fast. But honestly, I thought that it was a little long. Obviously necessary for the movie for them to be separated after being together for God knows how long, but I wanted to see more of Sarah and Niles' relationship. The next thing that I wish we had seen more of in this movie is Niles' experiences. Typically in a time loop movie, you get to see the characters discover the limits of their time loop. Can they escape if they leave the immediate vicinity, like in the sorry, spoiler. Can they escape if they die? Can they escape if they find some kind of moral retribution? In this case, we got to see some of Sarah's experiences, but Niles, whatever. His experiences were limited to sexual encounters as well as the night that he pulled Roy into the time loop. And finally, the next thing that I wish this movie had done better was develop Roy's character. I understand that his whole purpose was to be the bane of Niles' existence and have him exacerbate Niles' guilt about bringing him into the time loop in the first place and maybe act as like a type of villain, even though in this case the time loop is really supposed to be the villain, or at least a villain of a type, since this isn't really a movie where you can have a true villain. Unless of course there's someone going around murdering you, which is what Roy does. But really once he got over being the guy that tries to kill Niles, his only purpose was to be there when Sarah runs off and Niles needs someone to talk to that understands his situation. After that, they just totally drop him. Like, okay, Sarah and I found out how to escape the time loop, but we're not gonna tell the other guy that's stuck in here. Hi, I'm Sarah and Niles, and I figured out how to escape the time loop, but we're not gonna tell the only other guy that's stuck in the time loop. They didn't even invite him or let him know how to escape. Like, he's gonna be stuck there forever, because guess what? He's not gonna learn how to do quantum physics. Rude. And finally, we have the verdict. This movie is a hot pick. Absolutely yes, watch Palm Springs. The plot was a fresh take on a classic idea. The characters were fantastic, and I am a sucker for Andy Samberg movies. While I was annoyed with some of the aspects and choices that the characters made, I can definitely see myself watching this movie again a few years down the line. Thanks for watching, and see you next week on Movie Monday. Movie Monday. The verdict?